What is up? So this season I reached Master 1 with Vanquish Soul, which was newly released in the most recent pack in Master Duel. This deck is extremely fun to play, and thankfully they released it at full power, so it's actually pretty powerful. Without further ado, let's get into the deck profile and see what it's all about. Vanquish Soul is a very unique deck that's designed based off of fighting games. It revolves around using the Earth, Fire, and Dark attributes and revealing them in hand to activate certain effects. It's kind of like pressing button inputs if you're playing a fighting game, which is very cool. This allows the deck to do a lot of things, including playing a lot of Fire, Earth, and Dark monsters, because they synergize best with the decks, and it turns out that there are a lot of good Fire, Earth, and Dark monsters. So let's just get into the actual Vanquish Soul cards first. So first we have Razen. He's the main starter in the deck. You want to see him in every single opening hand. If you see Razen in your hand, you have a good hand. And if you don't see Razen, or a way to get to Razen, your hand is unfortunately not very good. So when he's normal or special summoned, you can add a non-warrior Vanquish Soul monster from your deck to your hand. So just any Vanquish Soul besides Razen, because they're all different types, which is pretty cool. And so yeah, obviously it lets you get to the rest of your engine, but also his other effect comes up very often as well. So it's a quick effect, and you can reveal either a fire monster in your hand or both a fire and dark monster in your hand to activate one of the effects. You can only use one of these effects per turn. It says you can activate one of these effects. It's all treated as the same effect, so you can only use one of them. But yeah, the fire and dark one comes up very often. It's a great form of disruption. It destroys all other monsters in the same column. It's really good going second, but also even going first, you can summon him on your opponent's turn by using Rocket the Vanquisher and then just pop your opponent's monsters, which is pretty annoying for the opponent to deal with. And if a lot of people, especially in the Master Duel ladder, they don't really know how to play against this deck, so they'll just unknowingly summon into Razen's column without reading it properly, so you just get a free pop of their monsters. So yeah, you always want to see Razen. Then we have 2 copies of Mad Love. You can play 3 of this and 2 of Borger, but I've been playing on 2 Mad Love and haven't really missed it. This is what I played in the TCG as well, this ratio. So on normal or special summon, you can add 1 Vanquish Soul spell or trap from deck to your hand, of which we are playing 3 in this deck. And then it has another quick effect, just like all of them have a quick effect as well. So this one has a, you can reveal a dark to make one of your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense, or you can, permanently by the way, or you can reveal both a dark and earth to non-targeting return a monster with the lowest defense on the field to the hand. So this effect doesn't come up as much. It's simply because of the attribute requirements. Getting an earth in hand is generally the hardest out of all of the attributes, but it can be very useful in some matchups, like against Pearly and against Mikanko. This effect is extremely good as a form of non-targeting removal. And then for other small Vanquish Souls, we have Pantera, which is an Earth. So the nice thing about this is if you don't control your monsters, you can special summon it from your hand. One thing that's good about this is if you're playing against a deck that has like removal on your normal summon, like say against Dragon Link, they have spheres on the field. You can like normal Razen and search Pantera, and then use Razen to try to force out their spheres. So if they bounce your Razen, you can just summon Pantera from your hand and keep playing. Yeah, it also has spell trap removal. You can either reveal an Earth to make it not destroyed by battle, or Earth and Fire to pop spells and traps in the same column. One thing also that's very important to note with both of these, both of these with the column effects, is that it checks on resolution, what column they're in. So if you like activate Razen to pop all monsters in the same column, and then you chain like Borger's effect to return him to hand, he actually won't pop anything because on resolution he's not in any column, so there's no monsters in the same column as him. So keep that in mind. This deck is very, very difficult to play optimally. Probably the hardest deck in the entire game by far, but it's also the most rewarding when you get it right. So then we have the taggers. I guess that's what you can call them, Borger and Caesar Valius. So they both have the same first effect, which is during the main phase quick effect, you can target 1 Vanquish Soul monster with a different type as themselves and return it to the hand. So, and then special summon it. So it's a good way of dodging like Impermanent Veiler and just a lot of different things. And it's very versatile for both Borger and Caesar to have that tag out effect, and during either player's main phase too. So then Borger has another effect, Dark. You can reveal a Dark to draw one card. This is what you're going to usually use on turn one if you're able to. Like assuming you didn't use Prosperity or something. It really gets you ahead in card advantage and basically snowballs. The deck can start out slow sometimes. Like if you might just have like a pretty simple turn of like normal summoning Razen, summon Rock. But on your opponent's turn, you can continue to accumulate advantage and then it becomes basically unstoppable. Which you'll see in the replays. It's kind of hard to explain if you haven't seen it in action, but the replays will make a lot more sense. But yeah, so yeah, you can draw one card, which is awesome, or you can reveal an Earth and Fire to inflict 1500. This comes up actually pretty often because this deck does kind of struggle with OTKing. It can be hard. You can't summon like that many monsters generally unless you have like a really insane hand. So sometimes you want to burn your opponent to death during their turn. So keep that in mind. But like I said before, having an Earth in hand is generally the hardest. But like you'll have an Earth in hand least often compared to the other attributes. So you might want to keep that in mind. You need to sequence things properly to be able to use the effect that you want. And then we have Caesar Valius. Like I said, he has the same tag out effect, but his other effect is you can either reveal an Earth to make him unaffected by your opponent's activated effects the rest of the turn, or you can reveal an Earth, Fire, and Dark, which is all three attributes that the archetype revolves around, and to non-targeting destroy one other card on the field. So yeah, it's obviously this is the hardest effect to get off. Like it has the strictest requirements, but it's also one of the best ones because just non-targeting, popping any card on the field is very good. And then we have 2 copies of Jiaolong. So I'm glad that they actually released Jiaolong in this game because he actually in the TCG came in the second wave of support, but he's very, very powerful and he adds a lot to the deck. So he has a trigger effect if you reveal a card in hand to activate a Vanquish Soul Carder effect. So like if you use Razen's effect to either you can make him unable to be destroyed by card effects, or the other one on a new chain it'll trigger Jiaolong's effect to special summon himself from hand. So it's a trigger effect. Keep that in mind. But also, since we're playing Master Duel, it works a little bit differently than in the TCG. It's kind of like a quick effect. You know what I'm talking about if you've used like Parallel Exceed or anything like that in this game versus in the TCG. So it's like the same kind of thing. Yeah, it's a trigger effect. It acts kind of like a quick effect though. And then on field, he has 2 good effects. One is to non-targeting. If you reveal 1 fire monster in your hand, you can non-targeting change the battle position of 1 monster on the field. And then 2 fires, which is really what gets you ahead. If you're able to pull this off on turn 1, you're in a very good position. You can reveal 2 fires to add any Vanquish Soul card from your deck to your hand. So not just the monsters, but also spells or traps. And since this is a quick effect, you can just do it again on your opponent's turn, which is amazing. Like you can do it on your opponent's draw phase. It's not even the quick effects on field are actually not just main phase only. It's only the tag out effects. But the on field effects can be activated at any point, which is very good, like I said. And then we got 4 additional Vanquish Soul cards. Technically, it's not a Vanquish Soul card. This is probably to make the deck a little more balanced, so you can't like search this. But Sacred Soul, you want to see this card every single time in your opening hand. It allows you to combo without using your normal summon. You can reveal any monster in your hand, by the way. It doesn't have to be a Vanquish Soul. So you can reveal Ash to summon Razen from deck, which is just amazing. And yeah, during the end phase, it'll get returned to hand unless you like tag it out or link it off or anything. But that's fine. That's definitely worth the downside. We have Small World, so 3 copies of Small World. One thing that this deck does kind of struggle with is bricking. When you don't see Razen, it feels very bad, like I said before, so having a lot of ways to get to him is very important. But also, Small World can obviously get you to any monster in your deck. You can search Maxi after you full combo. You can search, Kurikara when you're going second to nuke your opponent's field. It's just very versatile. I would highly recommend playing 3 of this in Master Duel at least. Because we only have 1 Pot of Prosperity, so that kind of hurts. 1 copy of Durendal. This card is kind of bad, honestly, but you can brick on it definitely. But if you have it with Fenrir, that's nice. It works fine. So I think you should probably still just play the 1 copy of it to search Razen, of course. You can also technically search Rise Heart with it. which I will talk about when I get there. But yeah, and then one copy of Rhoda, of course. That's a lot better than Durandal, but yeah, gets you Razen. And then one copy of Pot of Prosperity to get you anything, usually Razen, of course. Um, and then to the other Vanquish Soul cards, we have Dust Devil. It's kind of like a Book of Eclipse. Target one Vanquish Soul you control, change it to defense or change it from defensive attack, and then you can non-targeting book your opponent's monsters up to the number of Vanquish Souls you control with different names. So it is pretty good in some matchups, like against Kashtira. Against other matchups, it's not so great. Honestly, this card underperformed, but I found myself searching the trap more often. But it's still decent. Vanquish Soul Continue, it's like a Reborn or Add to Hand. I would say you use the Add to Hand almost just as often as the Reborn because controlling the attributes that you have in your hand is super important, as I said before. But yeah, this is definitely a card that you should play. I wouldn't play more than one though. And then Vanquish Soul Snow Devil. This is another card that was released in the second wave of support in the TCG, so it's very nice that we got it here. This card is actually insane. So you can reveal up to 3 of each of the attributes that the archetype works with: Dark, Earth, and Fire. You don't have to reveal Vanquish Soul monsters. You can just reveal Maxi, Ash, Ghost Spell, or Maxi, Ash, Shifter even to activate it. But it has 3 effects. So you can inflict 400 damage, and then you can special summon a Vanquish Soul from your hand. That's optional, by the way, the special summon. And 2 is inflict 600 damage, and then also your Vanquish Souls can't be destroyed by card effects the rest of the turn. And then inflict 800 damage if you reveal all 3 attributes. And then it Raigekis, destroys all other monsters on the field. And by the way, since effect 2 applies first, your Vanquish Soul monsters will not be destroyed by effect number 3 because they're applied in sequence. So you're basically destroying every monster on the field except your Vanquish Soul monsters. However, this does destroy Raka the Vanquisher because it's not considered a Vanquish Soul monster. It doesn't have Vanquish Soul in the name. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it's an extremely powerful effect. Just a quick effect Raigeki and burns your opponent for 1800, and you can summon a Vanquish Soul from your hand. Yeah, just a very, very good card. This is what I try to set up on turn 1 if I'm able to. Get out all 3 attributes in your hand, or a way to get all 3 attributes on your opponent's turn. So that's it for the Vanquish Soul cards in the main deck. Let's go to non-engine. I mean, Fenrir is basically engine, so Fenrir is extremely good in this deck. One reason is that you can choose whether to search in Earth or Fire, so you can search the other copy of Fenrir, or you can search the Rise Heart, and that's very valuable to get the right attributes that you can get in hand. So yeah, Rise Heart is very good. I would definitely play it. It's mandatory with the Cash Engine. It can also let you go into rank 4 plays or make Zeus, make a Big Eye, a Rise Heart, all of that stuff. So I would definitely play it. And he's also a fire and a fire warrior. And for the actual non-engine, so we generally want to play Earth, Fires, and Darks. You don't have to play them, but they have synergy with the actual deck. In the TCG, there's kind of an issue of finding the right Earth monsters in your hand, but it turns out we have a very good Earth monster in this game. It's called Maxi. I'm sure you've heard of it before. So 3 copies of Maxi. You might want to hold it sometimes, before shotgunning it, so you can reveal it in hand. Well, yeah, just keep that in mind. 3 copies of Ash. It's a very good fire monster. You've probably heard of this one too. 2 copies of Ghost Spell. Ghost Spell is okay. It's not that great. Really, I'm just playing it mostly for the Earth attribute, but if you're playing against Labyrinth, Labyrinth is decently popular, and this can negate Big Welcome, which is pretty important, because Labyrinth can be a pretty tough matchup. When they set stuff like Daruma Cannon, it becomes very, very annoying to try to beat the deck. One copy of Nibiru. I'm honestly not even sure if I can small world into it. I didn't really think about it. I just threw it in just as a 1 copy. But since you draw so many cards and you have Prosperity, I want to have a hand trap that I can draw into that's not dead. So I don't want to play Imperm, because if you just draw an Imperm, you just cry. So I played the 1 Nib, and it was fine when I drew it. So maybe even up that or play another card to bridge into Nib more easily. Now, 1 copy of Kurikara. Kurikara is extremely good. Um, it's a fire, obviously. It has 1500 defense, which is the same defense as Razen and Borger and Valius, by the way. So it just makes Small Worlds so good in this deck. And obviously, it's good against Pearly. It outs the board and allows you to push for lethal because it gains the attack. If you play against Cash, this is just like GG if you open this card, or a way to get to it. You just win the duel immediately. Yeah, so I would definitely play Kurikara. You can also play Dogoran, the Mad Flame Kaiju. He's an ultra rare, unfortunately. But I think Kurikara is better because you can push for more damage and go for like the OTK with it. In this particular meta. If we get into a meta where there's no like Pearly or Cash, then it won't be very good. Then you play Dogoran instead. Let's go into the extra deck next. You don't go into the extra deck too much. You're usually just summoning Raka the Vanquisher. So it's Link 1. You can use any Vanquish Soul monster. But it cannot be used as Link material, which is annoying and something that you need to be careful of. If you're trying to do Link plays, you can't use it. It kind of just gets stuck in the extra monster zone, but it is pretty good. So your opponents can only attack your monster that has the highest attack. So it makes it a little harder to get rid of this. And then during the main phase, you can either special summon one Vanquish Soul from your hand, or non-targeting add a Vanquish Soul from graveyard to your hand. So this is a quick effect, and you can only use one of these effects. It might be a little confusing with how it's worded, but yeah, you can only use one of those effects per turn. Yeah, so you usually want to establish this on turn 1, and it makes it a bit harder. It lets you summon Razen on your opponent's turn, for example, and lets you, like, basically your opponent can't play around the columns as easily. So that's what you're making the most by far. All the other stuff, not so much. I mean, ranked 4s are okay, decently easy to make with this deck. So, I mean, Dweller, I made it like once. A big Zeus package, this never really came up for me. I mean, I made Zeus a couple times, but never did like the whole Borbo, Tiger Motor crap. You should play Dryden if you have that, but I didn't have it. It's an ultra rare, sadly. So yeah, play Dryden if you have that as one of these. Baguska, that's one of the ones you'll make more often because it's just annoying to deal with for some decks. Big Eye, since you can make rank 7s, is probably the best one. The best one that requires 2 monsters. And then a Rise Heart, there's really no reason not to play this, because if you play against Cash, and they make Shangri-Ira, it's just free real estate. And technically you can even hard make it with 3 level 7s, because Borger is also a level 7, so you can like do Fenrir plus Rise Heart, like after you use his effect to change levels, and then Borger. I never ended up doing that this season, but just a nice play. One copy of Zeus, because why not? Of course, you should play Zeus. And then Cerberus and Phoenix. These come up also somewhat often, more so than these other random crap. Phoenix is good for just backward removal, obviously. But the nice thing with Rocket the Vanquisher is since it has the down arrow, you can also get a draw with Nightmare Phoenix and Cerberus because they'll be co-linked when you use the effect. And then Underworld Goddess, I mean, this could be really anything else. I never made this. It's pretty hard to make anything like this. You could play like the Dark Charmer or even the Fire Charmer. Those are all decent choices, but this is just what I ended up settling on. Like I said, the extra deck is just not that important. And so, yeah, there's really a lot to explain with this deck, but it'll be a lot more clear once we get into the replays. So let's go. So for the first replay, we have the going first game plan. This is really the ideal turn 1 and exactly what you want to have. This hand is insane. So you start with Fenrir, that's great. I mean, they have Maxi, but I have Dash. So nice try, buddy. Okay, so now let's see what we can do with this deck. So we go Fenrir, search Rise Heart. And then we go Stake Your Soul, reveal Rise Heart because it's a fire. This is what I said about Fenrir being able to search a fire or an earth. And so then you summon Razen. That's our boy. You search with Razen. Okay, so now we search Xiaolong. So in this case, we want to search Xiaolong because we have another fire, and you're about to see why. So we can use Razen's other effect, not the pop effect. We can use the first one. So this card cannot be destroyed by card effects this turn. We don't really need to protect it or anything. The reason we're using that is just to trigger Xiaolong's effect. on the new chain because you revealed to activate a Vanquish Soul's effect. So then we go for Rock of the Vanquisher. Now we use its effect to add back from grave. So now we have 2 fires in hand, and we can use Jialong's quick effect to search any Vanquish Soul card. In this case, I'm going to search Borger because I already have Mad Love, which can get me the trap. And so we already have all 3 attributes, which is fantastic. We can also get the draw with Borger here by tagging off the Mad Love, and this is a very good start. So we have a quick effect Raigeki, we have this, we're going to have Caesar as well. So on your opponent's draw phase, I'm going to use Jialong to search another Vanquish Soul card. So I searched Caesar in this case because we'll have the pop from him as well. And I drew with Borger. Unfortunately, the draws were like the worst possible draws, but we'll be fine. Playing against the birds. Okay, so now he searches Ryza. He goes for Stree here. I don't really know why, but I used Fenrir. I think I accidentally used Fenrir, but it doesn't matter. So I used Snow Devil here, revealing all 3 attributes. And then I chained Rock to summon because it's going to get destroyed, and so will Fenrir. So I'm just going to use it now. Pop. So the effects are resolved in sequence, and then boom, nukes everything except Vanquish Souls because they're protected by card effects. And then, yeah, that's game. Easy. Next I'll show going first combo when you don't have access to Razen. Obviously you want to have him in every hand, but it's not always going to happen. But in this case, you're still able to do some stuff. So Mad Love, search the trap. I'm going to summon from hand, and then use Jialong's effect to search Vanquish Soul card by revealing 2 fires. Kurekara functions as a fire in this case, even though it's not live at the moment. So we can go Borger and get a draw. And we basically accessed our whole deck without having Razen in this case. And we draw Stake Your Soul, which is insane. But even if we didn't, we already had everything that we needed. On your opponent's turn, you can just search an Earth, and then you'd have the trap live. So they can try playing, I mean, let's see how well that works for them. So they're playing Pearly. Which they always hit for some reason on Master Duel. So I go Caesar. We have all 3 attributes for Caesar, so we can just use him. And also Rock Summon Razen in the same column. Here I'm going to use Caesar to out my friend. Hold the trap as long as possible because you can get multiple for the price of 1. That's great. I'm going to use Ash to negate the Happy Memory because Happy Memory can protect his Pearly from card effects. Goes Lily. Tries to go Lily and then nuke the field. And that's it. Easy. Burn him for 18, wipe the field. Cool. Shuffle back your things. Doesn't matter. You're dead next turn. Yeah, so this is what I meant about like snowballing. Look how far ahead we are. It's actually disgusting. And just for style points, I got him down to 14, and then in main phase 2, I just burned him for a game with Borger. GG. Next we have a going second replay against Mathmech. So Mathmech has been a lot more popular recently on ladder with the release of some of the new Cyber support cards. Makes their combo ceiling significantly higher than it was before. So, okay, you get Circular. They always have Circular or a way to get to it. Unfortunately, Circular is at 3 in Master Duel, I believe, right? Yeah. And the TCG is at 1. Okay, so then we have Diameter. This part is the standard Mathmech stuff. Well, more or less. I have a Ghost Bell, so I'm just going to save it for like Transcode Talker, or I'm going to wait for him to go through most of his stuff. Because what he's doing right now is the YouTube combo. Like, this is the 1-card Circular combo that uses like Alan Bershon to tribute to summon back with Singularity. But if I interrupt him, then it will no longer be the YouTube combo. So now he has to improvise. So he goes into Terahertz. I My hand is pretty solid for going second, but this is a lot to deal with, unfortunately. Okay, so we summoned Fenrir. That's a good start. But he can dump Mirror Logic Aggregator, which will be, if I try to use Fenrir's effect, Aggregator will be Chain Link 2 to negate him, so I'm just not going to use it. There's no point. And then he uses Save Worm, Spell Trapped Negate. I guess he just assumed that I was on Vanquish Soul somehow. Okay, so then we have Stake Your Soul. We're going to get that. So we get Drolled, which is very annoying because we like to draw cards, we like to search, so Droll never leaves me alone. Okay, so now we go Stake Your Soul. Now he's going to use Super Factorial here. It's probably not the right time to use it, but... You do you. So I'm going to summon Razen. Actually, I do happen to have the exact 2 attributes that I need to use the pop effect and at least force out his negate. Okay, so he ends up just negating that, so he doesn't die. This is wild, by the way. This game is actually ridiculous. So he sniped the Shift Trigger, and he hits the Razen, which I'm like, I really hope he hits Razen here, because now I can do this. So I can normal summon him, and then I go into Big Eye. Unfortunately, I can't kill him here. I did use Prosperity, so I'm going to take Terahertz permanently, so it's a nice 8,000 attack. But the nice thing is that I attacked an Xyz monster, so I can just make Zeus on top of Big Eye. So unfortunately I don't have anything to send with Terahertz. I don't have any Cybers in my extra deck. Never really expected to take a Terahertz like this. Yeah, he's going to try to go into access code and try to wipe my board. I'm just going to let him get as far as needed. So here I'm going to use it in case he goes into like Singularity to bounce my dudes. So I just Zeus him. And he's burned through basically all of his stuff at this point. He doesn't have access to another Sigma, so he can't really do anything unless he draws like, I don't know, like Ignister cards or something. Summons Circulate, but he can't do anything with that, so he just scoops. So yeah, that was a tight one. And lastly, we have a long and grindy match versus Dragon Link. Yes, my hand is... Oh, it's okay, I have Ash Maxi, which is nice, but I don't have Razen at the moment. Ash's Chaos Space, which gets called by it. That's very annoying. So now on Res, I'm just going to Maxi because I really need the draws. I know he doesn't have Gamma because he would have used it. Okay, so I Maxi him. He just passed his turn. Okay, I draw Rhoda. That's good. We got Razen, but then we get Drolled again. Ugh! God, I hate Droll. We're going to go in for more damage with Caesar. Fortunately, we can't do anything more than that. We're going to go into Rock. Be mindful that since they are playing Bestials, to be careful about putting Darks in the graveyard, but Caesar and Earth, so it's fine. And on my opponent's turn, I'll be able to use Razen to pop, if all goes according to plan. Okay, so now he goes into Striker Dragon. Uses both black and white. Here, for some reason, most of the deck lists that I saw were only playing one of each of the... I know they're not limited, but most of the deck lists I saw were only playing one of each of these. This con was playing two, so he ended up getting another search here. But he did already summon it, so he can't summon it from hand. Now he's Fenrir. I'm just trying to prevent him from getting started. Okay, so he gets regained. And he has Boot Sector. Now I can use the other effective Boot Sector. Romulus. So I am sweating a little bit here. I am in a little bit of trouble. But it is pretty hard for like people to kill you in this game because of Rock. It just makes it annoying. You have to pop this and then pop like... You have to pop a lot. You can't just attack with a big dude. And especially if you have access to Caesar, and you can make him unaffected, which I can't right now, but if you are able to do that, it makes it very hard for your opponent to kill you. Okay, so he goes into Levy. He needs to clear my board and prevent me from doing anything good. I want to keep my Razen for next turn, so I'm just gonna tag out into Valius. Okay, so Rock gets outed. He gets close to killing me, but not quite. Then he makes Seals. Oof, Seals is annoying, like I said. And he gets Druid's Worm off of Magdamut. This is tough. This is tough. It's not looking good. I draw the Trap, which is interesting. Not what I wanted there, but maybe it'll be useful. So I get Jalong here. Gives this. Now I do that, and then he chains. He decides not to bounce this. So he wanted to get his Magnum back to hand, which makes sense. Okay, so here I changed the Tracer to attack. I need to force it out. Like I can't really kill him, so I have to do something. And I do have a plan in my mind, which you'll see, which is very interesting. Here, I mean, I know he has a Bastille, I have to do it, but thankfully Rock doesn't target, so I'm still able to add back Valius. And then we go to end phase. Now check this out. This is cool. This is very cool. So on your opponent's turn, turns out the trap is actually great here. So I have to basically hope he doesn't top deck Ash here, which he didn't top deck exactly Ash. So now I have all three attributes. So now I'm going to use all three with the trap. I'm going to choose not to destroy his monsters because I need to play around Gamma. They're all playing Gamma now with the Black Metal package, so there's no reason to destroy his monsters. And then I use Borgrid to burn it for 15. Easy. GG. And that's all for my Vanquish Soul deck profile and replays. This deck is very difficult to play, but also extremely fun, and it's just rewarding to learn. You feel like very big brain when you outplay your opponent with it. It does have an extremely high skill ceiling and requires mastering toggle controls and knowing all of the little nuances of Yu-Gi-Oh's rules. But it will definitely make you a better player to play this deck. So I recommend it, despite it being pretty expensive. Yeah, so this is my Master Duel ID. Feel free to follow me. I've been making all my replays public as usual. And thank you. Peace.